Hi there and welcome. I'd like to talk to you about this mock-up I just did using the pattern 6890 from McCalls. I wanted a super easy summer dress to make, sleeveless, and I actually liked this neckline on the pattern envelope. It's this one below. However, when I got to making it, I didn't like the results. Now you might really like this pattern, but I'll point out some things why I didn't like it and how I'm gonna fix it, because I intend to make another one on this video. So the first thing I didn't like, I really wanted to make a dress with an elastic waistband because I didn't want to deal with zippers or buttons down the front. So that is why I like this pattern. But for me, I don't like the way the elastic waistband gathers around my waist. There's just too much bulk here, and I think I can do a little better with the fit. And for me, this bodice top is really short. I would have preferred it not to reach here, but my actual waist, which is right about there. So I don't know if everybody will have that same pattern, but I want my waistline at my waist. Although I'm gonna run into that same issue with the elastic, so what I think I might try is cutting the bodice and the skirt pattern all in one, because the waist of the bodice is actually the same as the waist of the skirt, so I can make it in one piece, hopefully. And then what I can do is play around with the placement of the elastic to see where I like it best. Another option I might try is to actually have 2 or 3 bands of elastic, maybe a little bit of shirring right around the waist, and see if that pulls it together better or I like it more. So that I might try, as well as this neckline. It's probably the fabric I chose because this is scrap fabric, but I just prefer a little bit of a V. The pattern does have a V-neck version, but the problem with this is it folds over each other. So when that happens, there's always a little bit of a gap for me, and I don't really like those patterns. So what I'm going to do instead is to take this version and cut out my own V-neck and see what I can do. I've got 2 more alterations. One is this. The armholes are a bit too low here, so I need to bring them up again for a sleeveless version, and it's too short. Now this is a perfectly acceptable length for some people, but I really prefer something not just at the knees, but maybe 4 inches below the knees. So that's what I'm going to try today with this fabric. So instead of the 2-tone scrap project, the whole dress will be in this fabric, and it has a beautiful drape. I'm really excited to see if it's going to work. I have so much of it, I might even add a layer at the bottom. Instead of just lengthening the overall pattern, maybe I'll add a ruffle at the bottom. If you're interested to see if I can do it, why don't you come along and we'll take a chance. All right, here is the back bodice and the back skirt. Since I want to cut it in one piece, what I did is I lined up this edge so that these match, but that created this giant gap right here. And I think that's a good thing, because if you recall, the bodice was too short for me, and this adds a good 2 inches right there. So I'm going to keep with my idea and cut one piece instead of 2. And then all I have to do is modify the sleeve right here. And to do that, I'm just going to take off about 1.5 inches. Actually, add 1.5 inches. So I'll cut that right here so that this comes up a little higher. And I think I'll still be comfortable because that's right where my bra hits. And also, I don't have a lot of fabric right here. So if I wanted to lengthen it without adding that ruffle idea, I don't think it would work. I could only lengthen it this much. So instead, I'm just going to cut it straight as it is and add that ruffle at the bottom, probably a 6-inch ruffle. Let me get my scissors. Here it is in one piece. Nice. This looks a little short, but at least I can cut it off if it doesn't fit right. All right, now on to the back. The front. Here's the front laid out the same way. The bodice here, the skirt here, matching these so I can cut it in one piece. First glance looks like this is actually going to work. It still has that gap, and you know what I need to do? I want to measure just to double check. Here's the back. What I have to do is make sure that the back and front can be sewn together. I have quite a bit extra on this end if I match. Oh, I know why. Because I shortened the shoulders, of course. Oh, yeah, no, I think this is going to be perfect. I just have to make sure I cut the shoulder right here, that armhole space, the same size. So what I'll do is I'll use this as a pattern. Okay, I think we're ready. The other thing I need to do is to do a V-neck. I need a tape. So I probably would like it about there. That's about 3 inches down from where it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the loop here 3 inches down and make it more of a V-neck. Well, I could sort of do a scoop neck too. They're easier to put bias tape on. Okay, I have to think about that. But next up, cutting the front. So this is the bodice front. And remember, I have this curve here. This is the original on the pattern piece. And I thought maybe I should do a V-neck, but I'm not sure about that anymore because where's my mark? So at the 3-inch mark, this leaves some of this fabric, and I actually don't want to do that. I want it more of a scoop neck because I like having more skin right here. So what I decided to do instead was to take this handy thing and move it down and just trace like that. So that's how I am going to do this neckline. And there's the front done. Scooped neckline, a little deeper, strange looking armhole. Still not sure if that's going to work. And then the same bottom here. Hopefully I can attach a ruffle. The back and the front should line up nicely. It's cut on the fold, so it's one piece. And all I have left is the pockets, and this is the trim. Now that everything's all cut out, I'm gonna have to sew it together. First up is my pocket placement. I gotta think about that because I want it about at my waistline, and I'm not gonna use the pattern placement. So I think I'm gonna do 8 inches from here to like right about there. Also 1 pocket on the front, right sides together, 1 pocket on the back, right sides together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sew my side seams, my shoulder seams, and try it on. I sewed the shoulder seams and the side seams and put in those pockets, but they were way too low. They were right about down there. No, wait, down here, so I couldn't even reach them. And this fabric is so fragile that what I ended up doing is just taking them out completely. No pockets. This fabric, I think, is too light. It just didn't work that well. But I really like the length now. I don't actually think I need to add that ruffle at all. And I'm also considering just leaving it loose like this because this is super comfortable this way. And why put that elastic in if I don't need it? I've got to fix this though. The neckline is way too loose or too big. It might help. I haven't put the bias binding on in yet, so that might help. But what I might do is make the binding a little bit bigger, thicker, so that it covers up more here, because I don't want to have my bra strap showing all the time. I still need to put bias binding around the armholes, but I like them. They actually are a good length. They fit really well, and I can still move around. I do have to double check the back and the front to make sure that they are even. But otherwise, I think this is turning out to be the really good pattern hack. I'm really happy with it. I've been wearing this around the house for a few days. It's pretty much done except for the hem. And I think it still needs some tweaks for 2 reasons. One is this neckline is okay, but it's too big. So what happens is this flies off my shoulders, especially if I sit for a long period of time, and I don't know how to fix that. And also what happened with the shoulders is, see how they're cupped a little bit? I don't have as much movement as I wanted to. So I think when I put the binding on, I held it too tight as I was going around with my sewing machine, and it just created this little cup that now interferes with my arm movements. So I'll try two things. Maybe I'll take off the binding and try again because I like the tank sleeve version, or maybe I'll look at putting a flutter sleeve in. As far as the neckline, not quite sure how to fix that. Without adding additional fabric or something like that. I just don't know. I might have to just suffer because it's easy to take away fabric, but not so easy to put it in. I'm not going to add a ruffle because going up and down stairs with this length is perfect. And I think if I add a ruffle, it'll be too long and I'll be forever holding it up. And this is meant to be a nice dress to wear on vacation. So I think shorter in this case is better. Of course, it's already knee length. I also want to try two different fabric because I really like this pattern. So I found this and this. They both are drapey and heavy enough to give the skirt a bit of a swing. That worked really well with this fabric. And I might attempt to put some sleeves on. I haven't decided yet. Would be nice to do a bit of variation. Otherwise, I think I can do these two pretty quick with the same pattern idea. All right, let's zip along to see what I ended up doing. Hey there, I got a little carried away with the alterations. As you can see, I have some additions, and the reason is a couple of things. I figured out how to narrow the neckband, and that's a lot easier than I thought. All I did is gather it right here, gathered it up so that it really sits well on my shoulders now, but I didn't like the way that looked plain, so I found these little roses and I put some on there, and I think that looks really cute. It gives a little bit of a flair to the dress. I also had an extra one where I put right back there. So I also added sleeves. First, what I did is I chopped off the facing I did around the armholes, and I chopped off way too much. So then I almost ruined it and I was really upset. So I decided I better put sleeves on it. And I guess I should have filmed this, but I did not. I was just in such a whirlwind of frustration that I didn't do any filming. So what you have instead is sleeves. And this is my pattern. Yes, this is what I used. I just traced out the armhole like that and made two patterns, because what ended up happening is, see, there's a seam right down the middle here because I made the sleeve too short or too narrow at first, so I had to double it up. And it worked out really well because this is a new look, because the sleeve actually, it really kind of hugs the shoulders still. But it's just a little bit puffy. I'm going to do a better reveal later on, but I thought I would show you guys my progress. I also made a tie, right? So instead of just wearing it loose, I can now just tie it up so it's a little bit more work ready, I guess you could say. So beach, work, garden, fancy restaurant. Here is what I'm doing now though, because I am going to make two more versions. And if you look down here, actually, let me grab the camera and show you. So here I go again. I found this fabric. It's really wide there. So I did the same thing. This is the front, top and the front bottom, and I just cut right along there. And I was actually able to extend this one this much because of how wide that fabric is. I could just shoot off that way. So that's a good 11 inches. And it actually goes down to just above my ankle. So I'm excited to see how that looks. I also gave myself a V-neck this time. You see how I just marked where I wanted the V-neck and just cut a straight line this time. Let's hope that works better. And I shortened the sleeve length. This is only 3 inches here. I mean the shoulder length, right? So that shoulder is much wider. I found that I liked the narrower shoulder here. That is the back piece. You can see what the fabric looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up and put on pockets and see how it looks and how I'm going to finish the neckline and if I'm going to do sleeves. Decisions to make. This version was fun. I didn't film most of it because, well, this video is getting kind of long. And I struggled with this V-neck. I'm still not very happy with it. It kind of bubbles here, but I think this turned out so pretty. And I especially love the length. I can't show you it all, but it is so floopy flouncy. You can see that in the reveal coming up next. So what I did with the sleeves is I decided to take another pattern, this one here, and I stole the flutter sleeve out of it. Can you believe this giant thing? That's their flutter sleeve. So instead of making up my own version, flutter sleeves. And I actually like them, but my favorite version would have to be a combination of this because of the length and the fabric, the rayon versus this. And I actually like these sleeves better, the ones that I created on my own, and the neckline as well. The neckline I liked because it was really easy to fix when I didn't quite get it right. I put in the gathering stitches right there. And the sleeves because I really like the way that they just cup the arm. I've never seen a sleeve with a seam right down the middle in the front. So I'm gonna try to recreate this pattern and actually trace it out so I can use it again. And finally, I nixed this. The reason is that it's a very narrow fabric. See that? This is it folded. I could never get the volume I like, especially after I made this one. I realized this is just not gonna work for this pattern. Anyway, let's go on to the reveal. Let me know what your favorite is in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thanks.